All right, today we begin our journey through Shemot, which is called Exodus from time to time. We begin with chapter 32 today, so there are 35 verses. Oop, 4 people just fainted. If you're young and strong and healthy enough to do it, we ask that you stand and cover your head. It is not a law, which is why if you can't do it, then we don't get too terribly worried about it. But it's a tradition that has been going on, as far as we know, from the very beginning. For sure, it was going on in the 2nd century. Plenty of evidence of that. Anyway, so I'm going to read the verses. Now remember, I'm reading, the way I'm pronouncing the words is the way I think they were pronounced in the time period that they were written. So it's very different at times than the way it's pronounced today, because the way Hebrew is spoken today is more of a slur and a slang over time. It just, gets to a point where, they don't talk the way they used to. Every language does that, by the way. It's not unique to Judaism. All right. Here we go then. Verse 1. Vayar ki ha'am voshesh Moshe la'redet min hahar vayikahel ha'am al Aharon vayomru elav asekum lanu et, no, there's no et, Elohim was next. Asher yelchu lefanenu ki ze Moshe ha'ish asher he'elanu me'eretz Mitzrayim lo yadanu mehaya lo. Vayomer alehem Aharon Parku nizme ha-zahav asher ba'aznei neshechem benechem uvenotechem vehaviu elai uyitparku kol ha'am et nizme ha-zahav asher be'aznehem vayaviu el ha'aron Vayikach miyadam vayazar oto bacheret vayasehu egel masecha vayomru elo. Oops, sorry, I moved it and lost my place. Elohecha Yisrael asher elucha me'eretz Mitzrayim vayar Aharon vayiven misbeach lepanav vayikra Aharon vayomer hag layave machar. I wonder how many times I've missed his name already. Vayashkimu mimacharat vayaalu olot vayagishu Shelamim vayeshev ha'am le'echol ve'shato vayakumu le'zachek vayedaber Yahweh Elo Moshe El Moshe lech red ki shichet amcha asher he'elata me'eretz Mitzrayim Saru Maher, didn't roll at that time, Min Haderech Asher Zivitim Asu, Lahem Egel Masecha Vayishtachavu Lo Vayizbechu Lo Vayomru Ele Elohecha Yisrael Asher Ha'elucha me'eretz Mitzrayim. Vayomer Yahweh el Moshe Ra'iti et ha'am hazeh vehine כשעורף הוא, ואתה הניחה לי וייחר אפי בהם, ואכלם ואשא אותך לגוי גדול. ויחל משה את פני יהווה אלוהיו, ויאמר למה יהווה יחרה אפך בעמך אשר הוצאת מארץ מצרים בכוח גדול וביד חזקה. למה יאמרו מצרים לאמור ברעה הוציאם להרוג אותם בהרים ולכלותם מעל פני האדמה. שוב מחרון אפך והנחם על הרעה לעמך. זכור לאברהם, ליצחק ולישראל עבדיך אשר נשבעת להם, באך ותדבר עליהם הרבה את זרעכם ככוכבי השמיים וכל הארץ הזאת אשר אמרתי אתן לזרעכם ונחלו לעולם. וינחם יהווה על הרעה אשר דיבר לעשות לעמו, ויפן וירד משה מן ההר ושני לוחות העדות בידו, לוחות כתובים משני עבריהם, מזה ומזה הם כתובים. והלוחות מעשה אלוהים המה, והמכתב מכתב אלוהים הוא חרוט על הלוחות. וישמע יהושע את כל העם בראו, ויאמר אל משה כל מלחמה במחנה, ויאמר אין כל ענות גבורה, ואין כל ענות חלושה, כל ענות אנוכי שומעה. ויחי כאשר קרב אל המחנה, וירא את העגל ומחולות, וייחר אף משה, ויסלח מידיו את הלוחות, וישבר אותם תחת האר, ויקח את העגל אשר עשו, וישרוף באש, ויטחן עד אשר דק, וייזר על פני המים, ויש, that one is obviously spelled wrong, et bnei Yisrael, can't be sure of the words, sorry. ויאמר משה אל אהרון, מעשה לך העם הזה, כי הבאת עליו חטאה גדולה. ויאמר אהרון, אל ייחר אף אדוני, אתה ידעת את העם כי ברכו. ויאמרו לי עשה לנו אלוהים אשר ילכו לפנינו, כי זה משה האיש אשר העלנו מארץ מצרים, לא ידענו מהיה לו. ויאמר להם, למי זהב התפרקו, ויתנו לי ואשליכהו, באש ויצא העגל הזה, וירא משה את העם כי פרעו אהרון לשמזה בקמיהם. ויעמוד משה בשער המחנה, ויאמר מי ליבא אליו, ויאספו אליו כל בני לוי, ויאמר להם, כה אמר יהוה אלוהי ישראל, שימו איש חרבו על ירחו עברו ושובו משער לשער במחנה, בהיר, no roll there, גו איש את אחיו ואיש את רעהו ואיש את קרובו, ויעשו בני לוי כדבר משה, ויפול מן העם ביום ההוא כ3,000 איש. ויאמר משה, מילאו ידכם היום ליהוה, כי איש בבנו ובאחיו, ולתת עליכם היום ברכה. ויהי ממחרת, ויאמר משה אל העם, אתם חטאתם חטאה גדולה, ועתה אעלה ליהוה, אולי אכפרה בעד חטאתכם. וישב משה אל יהוה, ויאמר, אנא חטא העם הזה חטאה גדולה, ויעשו להם אלוהי זהב. ואתה אם תישא חטאתם, ואם אין מכני נא מספרך אשר כתבת, that's spelled wrong, ויאמר יהוה אל משה, מי אשר כתב לי מכנו מספרי, ואתה לך נכה את העם אל אשר דיברתי לך, הנה מלאכי ילך לפניך, וביום ופקדתי עליהם חטאתם, ויגוף יהוה את העם על אשר עשו את העגל אשר עשה Aharon. You may be seated. Yeah, my wife keeps telling me to go get my eyes checked. Getting harder and harder to read this stuff. Anywho, hopefully it wasn't too horrible. Oh. I can't keep everything going. There we go. Sorry, I'm dealing with president and attorney general who think they're doctors. And they've decided that since people are killing themselves by shooting opioids up their veins, that all military people who, had things like airplanes dropped on them and stuff like that, they don't need to have any pain pills anymore. They're really messing with us. And I'm trying to figure out a way to get around it. They have you on high-powered pain pills, and then they're like, oh, well, you can just get some over-the-counter Tylenol. That's their fix. Anyway, try not to be a boo-boo here. Let's get started so that I don't have to think about it anymore. We are in Shemot 32, and we begin with this. Umberto Moshe David Casuto wrote the following. This is a quote. In general, the peoples of the ancient East were accustomed to portray the deities as standing on or sitting upon wild beasts or cattle, such as lions, oxen, or other animals. That is a horrific sentence, but I didn't write it, just saying. Moving on. He said, the golden bulls, both the one made in the wilderness and the two of Jeroboam, according to the account of 1 Kings 12. You do remember when the tribes split up, Jeroboam put a cow at the borders so that people wouldn't go to Israel for the holidays and maybe not come back. He was trying to keep them there. So he gave them something to worship at the borders instead of letting them go back to Israel or to Jerusalem. They were, I guess, technically still in Israel. So anyway, that's what he's talking about. So he said, 1 Kings, going back to what he said, were not originally deemed to be actual gods. So these cows were not originally deemed to be gods, but were likewise regarded as the seat of the invisible deity. The English translation of Casuto's book actually says Godhead. Godhead. However, Casuto was neither a Christian nor a Trinitarian. He would never have used the word, a word which did not exist until English was spoken as an actual language. And I say that because the word Godhead is in the New Testament translation and is thus believed by Christians to be a word that actually belongs to the 1st century CE. No, no, no. The word was not invented until sometime in the very, very, very late 1100s to 1200s CE. For those of you who don't know, CE is the politically correct way to say AD, which means that this word Godhead did not exist until the late 11 to sometime in the 1200s AD, 1200 years after for the Christians, Jesus went back to heaven. Are you hearing me? Godhead doesn't belong in the New Testament or in anything connected to God, period. So I'm saying that because some translator put that in his words. So if you guys are not reading Casuto because you think he's a Christian, get over that. Let's get past that. He was not a Christian. He was a Jew. And he taught from the Jewish point of view better than most. It's just that translators have basically turned the man into a Christian. Just overlook that stuff. You got to know it's not real. Casuto went on to argue that the reason why God allowed the carving of the cherubim, but not animals, was because people might worship the animals, but would never worship the cherubim. That's the cherubim, for those of you who don't know. An argument which I do not personally agree. It's stupid. People will worship anything. I had a guy try to tell me that he could worship an air conditioner once. Anyway, Casuto then moved on to the summation of why he was making such strange arguments and said, and I quote, "It was certainly not the intention of the Bible." Again, translator, he probably said Tanakh. It was certainly not the intention of the Bible to convey that Aaron actually committed a sin of adultery, the sin of adultery. For in that case, it would have been impossible for the Torah itself to relate that Aharon was chosen to be priest in the Lord's sanctuary and to become the father of the priesthood throughout the generations. And to that I say, or ask, why? Based on what? It's just some rule you decided to make up, Casuto, and you went with it. Moshe was a murderer, people. Why was he then chosen to lead the people? Was his murder somehow a lesser sin than Aharon's idol worship? Should we conclude that since David was also a murderer and was also chosen to lead the people, that God only wants murderers to lead the people, and thus only wants priests who commit the sin of creating idols that people don't worship to be high priests? I mean, That's how loony this argument is. But it gets worse when we get into the sages. I don't understand this desire to make every Jew in the Bible, in the Tanakh, the Hebrew Jewish Bible, to look like some superhuman without flaw. I don't get it. You read the Talmud and they'll write 300-page dissertations as to why Aharon did not commit the sin that he committed. It is ludicrous. And I don't know why we're doing it. What is this desire to change history? It has been running rampant since the Dark Ages. I don't find it before that, except I do see it sort of in the Onkelos, but I think that's more put in there than it is real, if you know what I mean. I think that translators over time have kind of pushed some ideas that aren't really there. All right, the fact is, Aharon committed a huge sin when he created an image to worship, to be worshipped. The people said, "Arise and make us gods." They did not say, "Arise and make our gods a cow to ride," because that's the argument eventually. Further, the very fact that he created this image is in itself idol worship. If you're advancing the religion or the ability for someone to worship an idol, that is idol worship. And so creating an idol advances idol worship. It is therefore, by definition, idol worship. The man committed idol worship. And worse yet, he made it so that all of the children of Israel could commit his idol worship with him. Aharon was just as guilty of this sin as anyone else. And the Jewish Bible lays his sin out clearly so that we will have hope. If men like Moshe, Aharon, and David made, then therefore, if they made these, what am I trying to say? If men like Moshe, Aharon, David, if they made such humongous mistakes, if they committed such grievous sin, then there's hope for us who have never done anything remotely like, I have never murdered anybody. Never. Never. I did not get another man's wife pregnant and then kill him or have him killed so that I could cover up my sin. Never. I have never made a golden image for thousands of people to worship. Never. So if they can make it, why can't I? It gives us hope. That's why it was put there. And for us to go in and change that and try to pretend like it did not happen or somehow that it's okay for them to commit these crimes but no one else, what are we thinking? We have all fallen short when it comes to serving God, and we have all fallen short when it comes to being human. I'm just saying, we've all done it. Fortunately for us all, God is merciful, He is gracious, and He is kind. He doesn't wink at our sin, but He does make a way of atonement for them. All that said, we now enter the place in Scripture where the most blasphemous words ever uttered by a human being will first be spoken. We begin with verse 1. Literally, it would translate this way in English. And he saw, for the people delayed Moshe to descend from the mountain, and he gathered the people upon Aharon, and he said they to him, Make arise to us gods, that it walk they, or he walk they, doesn't matter, to faces us, for this Moshe, the man, that make ascend us from land Mitzrayim, that's Egypt, by the way, not know us what was to he. It's pretty straightforward. It starts off by Yar, and he saw. It's to see the face of a king. It's said of his ministers who receive in his presence, who are received in his presence. I had some things here. The Hebrews use the Hebrew use of this verb and verbs like it, verbs of seeing, of those things which are not, oh, man, I cannot read to save my life today. The Hebrews' use of verbs of seeing, of those things also which are not perceived by the eyes, of those things which are perceived, felt, and enjoyed by the mind, of things which we perceive with the mind or heart, hence to perceive, to understand, to learn, to know. Now, Kasuto adds to the meaning of this word a coordinate clause in accordance with ancient Hebrew diction in place of a subordinate clause that would have been expected in modern usage. I don't know what that means. Next word, ki. It's for, because. Ha'am, the people. The people. And you know what a people are. There's something that pulls them together. The skin color can pull them together. The continent that they live on can cause them to be a people. The football team they cheer for can cause them to be a people. And if they all worship the real God and do what he says, that can make them a people. And that's what we're talking about here. So it's the people. Voshesh. Now, so the people saw Voshesh. We could say that literally it means delayed. So it's going to be that Moshe delayed. But listen, the origin should not apparently be sought in the idea of blushing, but rather in that of paleness and terror. It applies to enemies and wicked men put to flight after their endeavors are frustrated, of men overwhelmed with unexpected calamity. On the other hand, those are said not to be put to shame who place their confidence in God. So think about this. Moshe places confidence in God. He goes off into the wilderness and disappears. So there's your idea of shame. He brought shame to himself. I don't know. To God, I don't know, because God could have protected him, right? He didn't come back. So they're using the word that means shame, and it really does. It's used of a thing which disappointed the hopes of others. So they set their hope in, he's going to go, he's going to get the law chiseled into some stone, maybe written on a lambskin. Maybe they knew, maybe they didn't, I don't know. But they're thinking that he's doing that and he's coming back, and he doesn't, right? And who's the he? Moshe says it, calls him by name. Then it says la redet, to descend. So Moshe, it didn't come down. Now, obviously, they saw him go up, but he didn't come back down. Min, which is from, Hahar. He didn't come back down from the mountain. He just went up there into those clouds and disappeared. Maybe God put him on his spaceship and they flew off to some lane, far away. Vayikahel, and he gathered, and it's not really that it's and he gathered. It's that it's masculine. So they're gathering together. They're collecting together. They have assembled. And who are the they? Well, it says, the people gathered together, And this is the group of people that are, well, up until previously, were hanging out with Moshe, and then he disappears, right? So they gather together, and it says all, which means above or upon. And so they all stood on top of Aharon. You remember it. It's a different language and a different time. So the talking was a little strange. We might not say it quite that way, but literally it says they all gathered on top of Aharon. It really does say that. Anyway, so this is Vayom Ru, and he said they. So again, that just means that it's masculine. So we would say it, and they said, where to say it properly, it would be, and said they. So anywho, it's to say, and the primary signification is to bear forth, hence to bring to light. It's to shed light on the subject. So they're going to shed light on what's on their mind. Elav, they said to him, Aseh, get up, you lazy bum. Well, that's the wrong word. This is the one that comes. I'm thinking in English. Sorry about that. Aseh, properly, to labor, to work about, to make, to produce, to manufacture, to fabricate. Make something. Make something. Then it says, "Coon, get up, you lazy bum. Arise from your seat. Get up from your bed. You're in a sitting position. Stand up." They're saying, get up and make something. Lanus, make it for us. And what do they want him to make? Elohim. Wow, now that's the Hebrew word for gods. And you know it's in plural, right? We're going to hear an argument about why it's in plural that is so ludicrous, I don't even want to think about it. But I should tell you that the reason why the Yehudim of old spoke of God in plural was to indicate that he was alive. So first off, these people actually thought that Moshe, that Aharon could take some gold or some wood or some rock or something and chisel out some, because they don't say yet, they don't say make us a cow, they just said make us a god, right? So they think that this guy can, I don't know, dump a bunch of stuff in a pot, mix it up, and some god's going to jump out. I have no idea what they're thinking, but they're thinking it's going to be real. That's the first thing you got to know. By it being plural, they're talking about a living God. They're not talking about a dead one. Because, see, a dead God has one attribute. Therefore, he is a God, not gods. They don't say gods because there's three of them. Living in perfect harmony is one. No, that idea did not exist in Judaism. Hopefully it still doesn't, but I think it kind of does. But anyway, they're talking about a living God, not a plurality of God, not 2, 3, 4, 5, 27. No, they're not talking about a whole bunch of gods to follow. They're talking about a living God. That's why it says Elohim, which we would translate as gods with an S at the end. So anyway, they believe it's going to be alive. We know just from the word they used. All right. Then it says, Asher, that Yelhu, walk. They want a God that can walk. So this guy's got to have some magical potion or something, because their guy's got to actually walk. He's going to live out his life. This is the word that's halach. It's the totality of life. It's your walk of life. It's the gait in which you walk. It's all of those things. It's the same way we use our word walk. It's a good example of it. So they want one that is alive, that is going to live la fanenu before their faces. He's going to walk out his life in front of them. Now, see, when God asked them if they would be his people, he told them to live out their lives before him. But now they're like, you know, if we're going to do this on our own, if we're going to make up our own God, why don't we make it the other way around? Why don't we make that God serve us instead of us serve him? That's exactly what's happening here. We want a God that's going to live out his life in front of us. And it says, Ki, because this Moshe Ha'ish, this Moshe the man, he's just a man. I wonder if that means they elevated Aharon to some kind of God who can make a God. I don't know. Anyway, Moshe the man, Asher Ha'elanu, that made us to rise up, to go up. It's like starting at the bottom of the stairs, go up the stairs at the bottom of the mountain and go up. So he made us ascend me'eretz, from the land of Mitzrayim. He made us ascend. So they're giving him some credit here. You know, he got them out of Egypt anyway. Lo yadanu, we don't know. We have no idea. Nahaya, what was? Then there's one last word, lo. We have no idea. Mehaya lo tuhi. We have no idea tuhi. Well, you better be able to speak Hebrew and understand some idiomatic stuff to know what that means. Anyway, I think you probably already got it. Our translation of verse 1. And the people, just now thought, did I turn on the timer? I didn't even remember. Anyway, the translation. And the people supposed that Moshe descending from the mountain was not going to happen. That's your word for shame. The people supposed, they had this inkling in their head. They thought maybe the Moshe's descending back down from the mountain simply was not going to happen. So when they say that his descending was for shame, they're saying they didn't think it was going to happen. It's an idiom. And the people gathered to Aharon and said to him, "Arise, make for us gods, a living God, that will walk before us." It says, lepane, to the faces. That means before us. Before us, for this Moshe, the man who made us ascend from the land of Mitzrayim, we do not know, was to he. We do not know what has happened to him. Was to he. What has happened to him? We don't know. I mean, he just went off in the mountain and he never came back. We think he got on a spaceship and flew off to some distant planet. Probably won't come back. In other words, was not going to happen for shame. Casuto wrote, literally, caused shame. In other words, disappointed, was late. There is a word play, boshesh, bashesh. So one word is boshesh, the other two words, bashesh. It's all from the same spelling of Hebrew words, but they break up. Instead of making it one word, they can break it up into two words, right? It's found in the Babylonian Talmud in Shabbat 89a. The first word means to be ashamed, while the latter words mean the sixth hour has come. So based on this wordplay, and perhaps too much pizza before bedtime, Rashi wrote that Moshe told the Yehudim that he was going to return on the 6th hour of the 40th day. But they miscalculated the day and thought Moshe was dead. It is all pure speculation and whimsical fantasy and is not supported by the biblical text. I'm just going to go on record and say that. In other words, gods, which everybody and their brother translates to idols, which, you know, it is. It's not a real God, so it's an idol. So I agree with that. But Elohim really is the word for gods. But if you're talking about false gods, what are you talking about? Idols. I wouldn't use the word idol in a translation unless it actually said false, speaking of the idol. Then I would say an idol, you know, of the God, if you will. But it's okay. It's all right. There's nothing wrong with it per se. Rashi wrote that this word was in plural because the children of Israel wanted many idols to lead them. Anyway, I've told you why that's not right. Shemot 32:2. Literally in English, it would be, and he said to them, Aharon, tear away they rings the gold that in ears, wives you, sons you, and daughters you, and make go they to mine. So it's, in other words, bring them to me. Vayomer, and he said, he shed some light on it. He told them what was going on in his brain, and he said, Alehem. So he said to them, Aharon. So Aharon said to them, Parku, tear away, break them off. Couldn't you just like pull them out? I'm just thinking here, that's gonna hurt, man. To bend them, to break them off, to crush bones and limbs. It sounds very painful, doesn't it? Nizme, these rings that are worn in the nose and in the ears. Of course, he's going to be specific here, I think. Ha-zehav, the ones that are made of gold, those shiny things. Remember, gold means something shiny. Asher, that ba'azne, that are in your ears. Yep, take the ones out. Don't take the ones out of your nose. That's gross. I don't want to touch them. Maybe that's what he was thinking. This is neshehem. Take the ones out of the ears of your wives. Benehem, and of your children. Then it says, uvenotechem, and your daughters. So they'll take the word for children and turn it to sons, since daughters were given specifically. And that's perfectly fine. But Bene is still children, but it is often used of one or the other, mostly of boys. Then it says the havi'u, and make go they, and make go we say and bring. So and bring they or them is the way we would say that. Elai. Literally that would be to my, but he means bring them to me. So it says, and Aharon said to them, tear away the rings of gold that are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me. Oh, say, of the words, and Aharon said to them, Onkelos' Shemot by Drazin and Wagner gives the following 5 arguments as to why Aharon was so quick to make the cow. These are the 5 basic arguments that you read among the sages. They said, first, the Israelites might not have requested Aaron to make an idol or idols to replace God, but only to represent him. And that's the argument that Kasuto gives. So all of his arguments come out of Jewish text, books, Jewish books. Let's just put it that way. So that's the one he chose. Okay, well, we're just going to say, well, the cow didn't represent God. It was just something for him to ride. Then second, Aharon might have felt that the Israelites were being loyal to God, but only wanted to serve him in an inappropriate fashion. So he thought he would make that happen, apparently. And then third, based on a midrashic story, he saw that Hur. Now this is not a real story. This is not a real event. This is a story that somebody made up, a parable, if you will. It's not really a parable. It's more of just a fanciful story. So, but based on this story in the midrash, it's saying that Aaron saw that Hur was murdered by the mob or for resisting their request, and felt he could help the people by doing what they wanted. For if they killed him, the high priest, him being the high priest, they would incur a penalty for which there was no atonement. So he wasn't doing it to spare his own life, see? He was doing it to spare theirs. Isn't that sweet? And then finally they said, so it's number 4. Oh, why did I say 5? Maybe it's Nachmanides is the 5th. They gave 4. I said that wrong. Finally they said, Aaron thought that the Israelites would be reluctant to part with their golden earrings, and while they were struggling and tearing over his request for the jewelry, Moses would return and diffuse I think that's supposed to be incident. Nachmanides believes that the people deceived Aaron. Really? What kind of deception is there that causes a high priest to carve out a golden cow? I'm sorry, but that one's a little... They're all too far out there for me. Way too far out there. This is a desire to make Aaron innocent, and he was not even remotely innocent. Anywho, we'll move on to verse 3. And he tear apart all the people, rings the gold that in ears them, and brought they to Aharon. This last one, number 4, yeah, he thought that it would take them, they would be reluctant to give up their gold, and so that would buy him some time. That comes from Rashi. Rashi said, women aren't going to want to give up their gold. The girls and the young boys, but mostly the wives, they're not. So he really thought he was going to get his. Who is this guy? Sometimes I really have to get down on him. Sometimes he does say some sharp stuff, but boy, he gets out there. When it comes to trying to make all of the people in the Bible perfect, all of the Jews in the Bible perfect, I have to get on him. So anyway, the first word here is uyit parku, and he tear apart they, to rend, to break, So they were literally breaking the gold, right? Were they literally yanking and tearing it out of their ears? Probably not. Probably not. I'm just saying. But they were breaking it up, I think, because they knew what he was going to do. He was going to put it in a smelting pot, and maybe it melts faster that way. I have no idea. I've never owned little chunks of gold and whatnot that I stuck in something to melt. So that's not part of my life experience. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, everything's turning off, and I can't get it to turn back on at this point. Okay. All right, so they break it up. This is coal. It's all the people. Now you realize this is hyperbolic. Every last human being there did not do this. They just say it that way because it means that it was a large number of people that did it. And I'm not the only one that says that. Casuto talked about that in his book as well. Then this is et, which is a pointer, knees may, the rings, because they were rings, you know, that are found in the nose and the ears, ear rings, but they were in circles, so they called them rings, right? Ha zahav, so it's the rings of gold, asher, that be'aznehem, that were in their ears. So they did exactly what he told them to do. Vaya vi'u, and to make come, so it's and they brought. They brought el, which means to, Aharon. So they brought it to Aharon. The translation is real straightforward. And all the people tore apart the rings of gold that were in their ears and brought them to Aharon. Now, they didn't even blink from the telling of the story. But you do realize that in the Bible, there are times when it will jump from the end of this story and it jumps maybe 15, 20, 100 years later. So it may seem like it happened just like that, which is, I think, partly why all the arguments are out there. Maybe it did take them a long time. We know it's not true because we know Moshe shows up almost immediately. So anyway, verse 4. And he took from hand them, and he bind with it with chisel, and he made it calf molten, and he said these got you, Israel, that made ascend you, and that is in there twice, from land Mitzrayim. I think you probably caught it, right? Casuto wrote the following, and I'm quoting now, in order to understand the details of the subsequent narrative, it is necessary to pay attention to the method of making images of silver and gold in antiquity. First, they would make a wooden model and then overlay it with plating of precious metal. The existence of the inner core of the wood, which formed the greater part of the idol, serves to explain verse 20, which relates that Moshe burnt the calf and ground it to powder. So he thinks it was the wood that got ground to powder. I think it was the gold, but whatever. Then he says, whilst the gold plating, which was made by melting down and casting the metal, in this case the earrings, elucidates, or makes it so you can see, understand, the word masacha, which is molten image, in verse 4. And he compares that to Isaiah 30:22. Goes on, then you will defile your silver-covered graven images and your gold-plated molten images. Masachat. In order to sculpture the finest details on the gold plating, such as the eyes and the hair and the like, artistic work required a sharp and delicate instrument, namely a graving tool. This then is the meaning of the verse, and he fashioned it, the gold, with a graving tool, which is what it says, producing by means of this instrument an exact likeness, and made it, when his work was complete, a molten calf overlaid with molten gold. So if you know that's how they did it back then, it's easier to understand what we're about to go through. So it starts off, Vayikach, and he took. It's the word they use for a man took a woman to be his wife, right? It's not the idea of he grabbed her by the arm and yanked her and said ugh and kissed her and she was. No, it's not quite that primitive, but it's more the idea of sticking together like glue. It's of two people when they're really in love, they weather the storm and they stick together year in and year out. And one day you realize you've been married more than 30 years. And you're like, what? How did that happen? Because you stuck together like glue. But this is to take. So he took something. Miyadam. So he took it from their hands. Vayazar. And he pressed it. He compressed it. He bound it together. It's like taking it all and just smushing it together. Oto. He bound it together. Bacheret. With a chisel. A graving tool. Va'ya'asehu, and he made it. He produced it. He manufactured. He fabricated it. Egel. What is the it? Well, it's a cow. I wonder if he made the cow with a fat butt on it. Back in that day, he probably did. Just saying, because that showed royalty and all that stuff. I bet it was a cow with a fat butt. There's an image for your head. Masacha, a molten cow. Ba yom ru, and he said and they said ele, and they said. It's not saying that he said. Let me look at that Hebrew word. Nah, this could be ro. It could be. This word could be and he said, or it's and they said. Either way, somebody said ele. These, it's plural. Eloheha, these your gods. These are your gods. These be your God, Yisrael. These are your gods, Israel. Asher, that Eluha, who made you ascend or brought you up, Me'eretz, from the land, Mitz Raim. And he took it, the gold, from them, and formed it with a chisel and made a molten cow. And he, speaking of Aharon, said to them, this is your God, Israel, which made you ascend from the land of Egypt. Of the word molten, Rashi wrote that as soon as Aaron put the gold into the smelting pot, the magic people from the mixed multitude, of course, it wasn't the Jews, it was the mixed multitude with the Jews, caused the cow to jump out of the fire with their magical powers. He really said that. Onkelos and Rashi both agree that the Hebrew word masacha was much like the Hebrew word matechet, and it means poured. So they give the idea of molten. I agree with that. I don't agree with the first thing he said, but I do agree with that part. Of the words, this is your God, Yisrael, Aharon just declared that all the miracles, all the signs, all the wonders that the Jews had seen till now were performed by that fat-butted cow. But as blasphemous as these words are, the worst is yet to come. We haven't made it yet. There's a parallel to this story found in 1 Kings chapter 12, where Jeroboam set up 2 gold cows, one in Beit El and one in Dan. He added the inscription where he set these cows up that said, this is your God, Yisrael, which made you ascend from the land of Mitzrayim. Jeroboam believed that if he set up a place for people to worship close to home, they wouldn't go to Jerusalem for the feast and then maybe not return. That was his fear. Kasuto also pointed out that these 3 occurrences of these verses are all written in plural, while the occurrence in Nehemiah 9:18, in that occurrence, the text is singular. as I have also translated it here, because that's what it means. Rashi wrote that the they refers to the mixed multitude of Egyptians who apparently wanted to convert to Judaism when they left Egypt. I guess he saw the Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston a few too many times. That's not possible, by the way. Just throwing that in there. He somehow is supposed to have deduced this idea from the sentence saying, your God instead of our God. Who are the your, if not Israel? Say your God, Israel. So who are the your if it's not them? These be your God, Israel. That's what it said. The argument is completely without merit. Nachmanides and Rashbam wrote that the Yehudim couldn't have believed that the cow was a god, although the text clearly says they did. But the people believed, of course, that the cow was imbued somehow with God's spirit and power, and they could receive some mystical power from it. Now, the text says no such thing. There's nothing there to tell us that that's what the Yehudim believed. But, you know, these two guys. So it can be believed somehow that a cow can have and give mystical powers, but it cannot be believed that the cow is an actual god. Check. Got it. No problem. All right, this is as far as we can go today. Shalom.